Good evening, everyone. Today, me, Kalash Talati, and Preet Rathore are going to be your hosts for the day. So, Student Undergraduate Research Graduate Excellence is a research program meant to develop and promote culture of research and interdisciplinary education amongst undergrads. Under this program, students from IITK and other participating institutions undertake short duration but focused research projects under professors of IITK. The duration of this program is approximately 8 weeks or 2 months, and the search program for this year is tentatively scheduled to be held from 13th May till 14th July. For the same, the research wing of Academics and Career Council has organized this session to briefly introduce the program and the requirements needed for the application. And to answer all of your queries today, we have with us Sayak Bhattacharjee and Aaryansh Mohan Bansal. Both of them received the Best Project Award in Search last year. Sayak, a Y19 from Physics Department, worked on the connection between information theory and evolutionary game dynamics in his Search project. Whereas Aaryansh, who is a Y19 from Aerospace, worked on the project related to reinforcement learning for quadcopters. So a direction for the audience. So whatever questions you may have, you can write them in the chat and we will make sure that the speakers are informed about that. So if we can start right now. You can post your queries in the chat and we can start the session.
Okay. Do you want me to speak first, or do you want Aaryansh to speak first?
Anyone can speak first. The questions are in the chat. So let me bring up some questions.
Okay.
So the students are asking, are there any prior requirements required? Any prereq or something?
Um. So, okay. Let me quickly tell you about my experience in like 5 minutes, and then we could take questions, I guess. So for Surge, what I had done was I wanted to work with a professor who worked in nonlinear dynamics in our department, the physics department. And so I had actually contacted him in, I think, around the new year of 2020. And I would, so we had a correspondence for quite a bit. I was trying to read up on some material that he was sending me. And then I did apply for Surge because I wanted to do something in IITK in a formalized manner. So I thought Surge might be a nice opportunity. And so I did apply for Surge. And I then told him that, okay, so whatever I was doing with him unofficially, I could convert to a Surge project. And he was happy to uh, do that for my case. With regard to what the application actually requires you to do, I think you just require two recommendation letters and transcript, and I think you need to write a research proposal. So that's like it's like an abstract to a paper. You write what exactly you think you might be doing in the project, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, with regard to prerequisites, obviously, like whatever research you want to be doing, you might have prereqs related to that, but otherwise that's about it.
Okay, so Aryansh, if you could go over your experience briefly as well.
Yeah, sure. Mine was like also similar to what Sayak said. So I was also like working with my professor, that is Professor Mangal Kothari, before the search program, and in when search started, so I formalized the program. I integrated the project with it, and basically in search, the documentation was more important. So in research program requires you to document your project at respective stages, so you are like able to monitor the project and you are in constant touch with your mentor. So that is how like my project went. I worked on the project, documented it properly, and so basically the project that I was doing, I started it well before search, and in search I did the its documentation part, and that is how my program ended.
Okay, so one question many of the students have is how difficult is it obtaining the LOR?
So
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So you can get LOR like from your professors whom you have done your courses, or uh, the other way around is that the field of interest that you want to pursue, you can search which professors are in that field, or and you can mail them like you have interest in that field and you want to do something regarding that, and then you can mail them. And yeah, so that is how you make it LOR. Sayak, you want
Yeah,
to add?
yeah. I'll just say that usually depends on how what your relationship is with the professor. If you have been working with somebody already, that's like great. Then I most likely they will give you a recommendation letter. Most likely for people who might be doing surge right now, you might not have a lot of research experience, if at all any. In which case, if you have done well in a course, yeah, as Aaryansh said, um, you should be able to get a recommendation letter from there, provided you have also interacted a lot and asked questions and stuff in the class. Also depends a little bit on the professor. Some professors don't give recommendations based on courses also, but I guess given the number of courses you all have done, you should be able to find some people who will be ready to give you a recommendation. Just need to anyway. And I guess for the pandemic, it was also relaxed to one, I think, last year. I don't know about this year.
Yeah, sure, it's relaxed to one right now.
Okay, so the next question is, was your project topic something that your mentor decided or something that you and your mentor discussed and thought of together?
In my case, I had a rough idea of the field I was interested in, and yeah, that of course I chose. But after that, what exactly I did was suggested to me by my professor because he was interested to do something. And yeah, so not really. He introduced me to some literature and then he said, okay, try to read this. Tell me exactly what you find interesting from here, and then we'll format a research proposal from there.
Yeah, it can go basically in three ways. The first is that either you can propose something that you want to do on. The second way is that you can interact with the faculty or professor and you can mutually decide. And the third way is that the professor may himself or herself have a project, and they can give you or assign a like a PhD student or a postgrad student that can mentor you on that. So it can go in any of these three ways. Yeah.
So a small doubt one of the participants has is, can the prof giving the LOR and the prof that we want to do the project under be same?
No, I don't think so. Um, no, because I think is that possible? I don't think so. No?
In our case, yeah, it was not possible. I don't know
Right.
right now.
Also, because like there's a certificate from mentor, and so that's a separate thing, and then the recommendations are separate things. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think it's
Exactly.
even if it's, I don't think it's allowed. No.
One of the doubt is also that one can do search with prof of other branch. So means like the interest is in some other branch and students is of some other branch. So if you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, it is not a constraint. Department is not constrained. You can like talk to any faculty of any department and you can do project under any of the department is not a constraint. Like you just have to decide what your interest is, and as per your interest, you have to decide which faculty suits you best, and then you can decide and go on with it.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people from our department did do projects in other departments, I think. Few at least did. Even if not a lot, a few did rather. Yeah, that's more accurate.
So, one of the question was that, like, what's the importance of this search program? Like, has this now that you both have completed the search program, has this helped you in any way other than uh, in your field or academically, apart from the experience, of course?
Yeah, so basically, like a search is one of the first experience that you get in doing a research project in a proper framework. So people who have an like idea that they want to pursue research, or they have an interest in research, get to know like what is it to do a project and document it and think about it. And people who are not sure like how research works and corporate sector works, and they are like confused. So by doing search, they get an idea like they get an answer to themselves that whether they will be able to continue with the research field. So yeah, so definitely the program would help both ways. It will help you learn in the field, in the field which you have taken the research project for, and it would make you clear like whether you should go ahead with the research field or not.
Yeah, and uh, if for people who do really want to do research, any bit of research you do does help you. So, and if you can do it in a formalized fellowship manner, then it's always nice to because then also see, I was already working, like also Aryan said, we were already working with our respective supervisors, but um, if you say that you're doing a search project under them, it formalizes the whole thing. So they also now have a commitment to do some actual productive work within a stipulated time frame of whatever, 2 months, 3 months. So they also, and also they know that you also have a commitment to do something, get some output from there. So then it actually helps if you are driven enough to do something. It does help you. Uh,
Okay, so a lot of students are also asking about what are the time commitment or what is the load per week, something of that sort.
Totally, I guess, depends on the work you are doing and the whatever the supervisor expects from you. Um, yeah, I don't know. We
It
had,
is.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it is not like a fixed range or something you can just say. I think it depends on the type of project and the workload, as Sayak said, and it also depends on you, like how committed you are, and uh, how what are the expectations of your mentor, and what are the like how heavy the project is, and if it is very much new, then it would definitely take much time, and if it is a like normal one, then yeah, it may take less time. So it is not like a definite range or something. uh, it depends on the quality of project, the type of project, and how committed you are, how committed is the mentor. It depends on several factors, I would say.
In my personal case, I used to have like a meeting every week with my supervisor, and I also had a PhD student who would work with me, and we would usually try to meet once or twice before the meeting with the supervisor, just so that some work actually got done. But and then depends on you, yeah, totally how much work you want to put in.
One of the question is, should I talk to the mentor before getting LOR or should I contact him or her afterwards?
Think you should
uh,
find a mentor first. Otherwise, you're not even sure if you're doing the program search program. So yeah, find the mentor first, then you should be able to get advice. People find a mentor
Yeah,
and get them to agree also. Like not everybody will agree to give you a search program.
yeah, you should definitely have at least one discussion with the mentor, like what is the project, like what type of the project is, what are the commitment, what does the professor expects. At least you should have an idea like about the project and the mentor. It, it would be very much better if you have an interaction before continuing with the program.
Also becomes easier to get recommendations because then you can tell your recommender that I am working with this person or want to work with this person. So then they also know that okay, they will give you a recommendation because it's official and stuff.
Okay, so one abstract question, like to both of you. What was your goal before applying for search? Like, what was in your mind, and how much of that do you think had been accomplished through the project?
Yeah, so actually, like as I said, I was working before the search program. So I was working on the project before the program, and I integrated my project with the search. So basically, what I did is I documented all of my work, and that is how I did my search program. So the motivation for search was to search provides you a proper framework for doing a project, and because you have to submit like documentation, and the mentor also knows that you are enrolled in a program, so you are in constant touch with the mentor also. And I had interest in the project that I was doing, so yeah, so that was my motivation.
Sir,
So
I want to have one question. Give me some idea, sir, how to join a fresher student in this mentorship who is interested in this project.
Could you ask your question again? Didn't understand what you're saying.
Hello.
Everyone is please requested to post their question in the chat, and we will make sure that your question is answered. So please type it in the chat. Don't unmute yourself.
Sir, I
Okay.
think
Uh, with regard to what the previous question was, as to
sir,
what was the goal with this
sir,
project,
I want
I just one second. I just wanted to do research in the summer,
sir
and so
this
I
question.
had some questions that I wanted to try to answer, and so it made sense that I would do it in a formal manner and try to get that done. So that's basically why I did the search project. Uh, yeah, depends on what you actually want. If you want to try out research for the first time, then that could be your goal. Depends on you, literally. Yeah.
Uh, so one student is asking, मतलब, what's the difference between doing search and UGP?
Surgeon UGP.
Like he's asking, is it any better or something?
Okay. Yeah. So I did do both things actually, and they're quite different, very different. Surge you're doing in the summer, so you have a lot more time to give to the project. Assuming that if that's the only thing you're doing, then you have a lot of time to give. That's the only thing you should be doing then, and you can devote all of your time to the project and try to get very nice outputs and stuff. UGP is a course, you might be doing it with a lot of other courses, so then it won't be so much, you won't have so much output, I guess, in the UGP. And then evaluation is also different. In the UGP, there's a lot more stringent evaluation. You have proper presentation where questions are asked by a lot of professors and all. You have mid-sem reports. You have to write an entire paper by the end of the UGP. At least that's how it's done in our department. But in Surge, you can do away with writing a report, and there's no live presentation. At least that didn't happen in our case. So it was not as hard. Also, you don't need to worry about grades and stuff. So you can think a lot more. At least that's what happens for me. It's easier to do research in the summer, yeah.
So one student is asking if he gets a mentor and an LOR. So is there a selection procedure after that, or is he automatically selected for search?
I think they only check the all documents that you have submitted. There is no like priority or something like other than this criteria. If you have proper LOR and you have a mentor, then I think you can easily get the program if the all the documents that you have submitted are okay and proper.
There might also be some pre-selected number of students that they want to give a search project to. So I guess if it's as long as it's within that, they'll select everybody. Maybe if it's everybody applies for search, then maybe they'll start selecting. But I don't think that happens. Mostly everybody gets through.
Yeah, one more question is, are there any experimental projects offered in search, or all projects are theoretical?
So
Last time, yeah, you go.
I did a theoretical project, but I do know of people who did projects in experimental labs. So yes, experimental projects can be given. Depends on if the your mentor in the experimental lab wants to give you a project. Given that might be offline. Could we mute this guy or whoever this is? I don't know.
Yeah, sorry for that. He's muted now.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, depends on that. Depends on the mentor. If experimental people are willing to give you projects, then cool. You can do an experimental project. I don't know. Maybe Aaryansh did an experiment.
No, mine was also like a theoretical one. Last year, since it was in pandemic, so it was completely in online mode. So if there was an experimental project, then it would have been in simulation based or something like that only. So not in like real lab, or not in something work in lab or something like that.
So one student is asking that is the stipend is still there, or it has been removed, or something like.
No, we didn't get paid for this. There's no stipend. That's the answer. You're doing it for free.
Okay, so one student is asking that if the LOR
But I
given,
will say, sorry, 1 second. If it's offline, I guess you will get a stipend. Like we did it online, so maybe that's why they didn't give us. But I don't know. Maybe if it's offline, you will get a stipend because that was the original model. I think yes. Somebody did write something in the chat related to that.
okay, so one student is asking, can we use the LOR given to us in search in any other field? Like we can add it to a CV or something.
Generally, LOR are for that specific program. So you would be asking LOR from the professor for the programmer. So I don't know, like, I don't think that you may be able to use it for any other purpose. If you want to apply for any other program, then I think you would have to ask again for that LOR. And I don't think like LOR would be like useful like for any other purpose. It is generally like asked for a specific program, like how you have skills for that specific program.
Yeah, I agree. LORs are usually, you can't reuse LORs unless it's written generally, but if it's written generally, then it's not very useful in the first place. So yeah, that doesn't work that way. And anyway, LORs are always confidential mostly. So usually you don't even see your LOR. They will send it directly.
So one more question is, can a project be done completely remotely?
I don't understand that question. Like, uh, what is the meaning of the question?
I guess
Sayat,
what the question means is, uh, can someone do project completely off campus and not on campus?
It depends on what they're doing this year. No, if it's online, then yes, you will have to do everything remotely. If it's offline, then you can't do it remotely, I think. Yeah. I don't think it
Hello.
depends on the prof also. It will depend on the model that you're following this time.
So one more question is that how will I know if the prof has sent my LOR to Surge or not?
Ask them. They should tell you.
also on the portal, like I think the portal like gives you a notification that uh, the LOR has been submitted or something like that.
Perhaps,
I
yeah,
guess
maybe.
so.
Hello, I want to ask one thing. Should we take LOR from professor, or they will give it to them, as we have to upload it na in the portal?
Yeah, so
Yes.
Surge, I think, had an option where they would either take it from you or the professor could send it directly. So you ask what your professor is comfortable with. Usually they want to send it directly, but if they're giving it to you, then you attach it in your application.
There was an
So-
option. Okay.
So one of the question is, can you give some idea about how to write a research proposal?
So okay, for my case, it was such that it's kind of like you figure out first what you will probably be doing with your supervisor. So you should usually have at least one meeting, as I think Aaryansh was also saying, and then you can note down points, whatever that he usually or he or she usually says, and then yeah, just try to search on the internet how to write a research proposal / how to write an abstract. It's like not very big, I think, within one page or some 500 words. You should be able to just list down whatever you think you will do, attach maybe cite a reference or two if your supervisor has mentioned something. It would be good enough. It's not very hard.
Yeah, you can like list down like what is your project about, what are you interested about, what do you think, what do you plan you would be doing with the project, and yeah, that should be enough. There are like references for research proposals that you can get on online resources, so you can go through them.
Okay, so if a student doesn't know his interest, so how can he find and approach a mentor?
Actually, that would be tricky because first you would have to decide yourself, like in which field you are passionate about, or in which field you think you can develop interest. Depending on that, you should look for your mentor, because your mentor should have experience in that field. He should be like doing some research work himself or herself in that field. So I think it would be really difficult to get a mentor itself if you are not clear about your field of interest, because you would have to filter the mentor or just choose a mentor according to that only. So you should be like have an idea about which field you are interested about or in which domain you want to pursue something.
Yeah, and yeah, this is always a tricky question. A lot of people ask this question. Even I'm asking this question. Uh, Kalash, can you mute yourself? There's an echo. Thanks. Yeah. So I think one way to go about it might be that you look at what courses you liked and did well in. So that could possibly give you a hint as to what things you might be good at and might find also interesting to do research in. And the other way to go about it is you look at, okay, something different that maybe is a hot topic right now in whatever branch you are in. And then you might think that, okay, even if I didn't do well in that course or whatever, I still want to try that out. And then you can look for people in that field. So, yeah.
Yeah, so one more question. Like if whatever mentor we choose, if he agrees for the first meet, so will he test the student for any prior knowledge related to the project or something?
So generally, it would depend upon the mentor or professor himself that how he wants to judge. For me, it was more of an informal session. At first, he just wanted to know like how much I am dedicated and how I would like be devoted to the project. He just wants that you don't like move out of the like your commitments. He just wants that you remain motivated and dedicated to the project and do not waste time yourself and of the mentor. So yeah, so I think in most cases it would be an informal session and not like trying and testing you on technical domains.
Yeah, same. If you can show some interest, like for in my case, the reason why I wanted to do nonlinear dynamics was because I had read this very popular book by Steve Strogatz on. I think it's called Sync. And so it's a good book. If you is interested, then you should try and read that. Anyway, the point is, so I said that I had read that book, and so I was interested in the field. And yeah, then they usually will give you a project, because at this early stage nobody really expects you to know a lot of things. You're doing the project to learn anyway. So if you can show, like all of you like to write, enthusiasm is the only prerequisite. It's pretty much that only.
So, can you both throw some light on your respective projects, uh, like in little detail?
Yeah, so let me start. So I worked on the development of an autonomous control system for a quadcopter using reinforcement learning, or you can say deep reinforcement learning. So in my project, I made a custom model for the quadcopter itself and a simulation for it to be tested. I made that in Python. And yeah, so reinforcement learning comprises of many algorithms. You have to tweak and test which algorithm suits the best. And basically, you can, in short, say that using artificial intelligence to make autonomous controllers. In short, yeah.
Yeah, my project was so nonlinear dynamics is basically, okay, most of the models that you all learn in physics are linear, but then most of the real world phenomenon can be modeled through nonlinear phenomenon. which leads to very interesting things like chaos and periodic orbits and stuff. Um, so one popular application of nonlinear dynamics is in evolutionary dynamics. So where you look at how, say, populations between two species or different types, which who all are interacting between one another, and then there's fitness functions and stuff. And so then you can look at populations, and sometimes the population seem to follow chaotic trajectories or periodic behavior. The population might be periodic and stuff. And recently, there's this very interesting connection between information theory, which seems to pop up everywhere, and evolutionary game theory or evolutionary dynamics, where you can characterize stability in such systems through measures of information theory. And that is what we wanted to explore in this project. And we managed to give some new stability criterion for periodic orbits in such dynamical models through information theoretic measures. If
Well,
any of
that's
you are interested to talk about it, like with me, feel free to talk to me anytime. Yeah.
well, that's certainly very interesting. So, moving on to some more audience questions. Uh, how will we know which professors are ready to give projects?
Yeah, you can like talk to like your seniors, and you can know like which professors generally easily give you projects, and you can check out at their websites, their web pages, and you can see like if they have any open positions or not. So in my case, I contacted like a couple of seniors, and I know like from my department which professors are usually give projects to undergraduate students. So I contacted one of them, and he gave me the project, and I continued with it.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't think I have anything to add there. Usually, it's you through websites or yeah, you can see who all like usually give projects in the department. Some people like they won't give the projects even if you ask them. So you can look at history and stuff. Ask people, your seniors. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give some tips for upcoming search mentees for extracting maximum of this opportunity?
Work in the summer. Don't waste time. That's the main tip. If you are dedicated and are enthusiastic about it and put in work, you will have a lot of fun. Provided you have interest in the work itself, you should be having a lot of fun. And usually, professors like engagement. So if you send them mails saying, okay, I found this reference and this seems interesting and this seems interesting, then they're usually very interested to give you time and talk more. Even they are freer in the summer, so they are also able to give you a lot of time. It's actually quite fun, provided you do put in work.
Yeah, you should be like passionate about the project that you want to pursue, or if not passionate, then you should give your at least 100% or be committed to the like work, or to the work that you have been assigned. So yeah, that is how you can get the best out of the project. You would get learning, and you will get an experience of how the research field works, the documentation, and yeah. So you should devote sufficient time and be honest to your work and the project. That is the most important thing.
So, are you guys still working on your search projects, or have you moved on from that, or are diving into something that's much deeper than in the field of your search project?
Uh, yeah, so yeah, I so when I finished my search project, I felt like there was more to be done in the field. So I converted, or rather, I continued doing the work through a UGP after. And so now even that UGP is done. So we are trying to wrap this work up right now. But it's funny how you say that if we are trying to do deeper work, yeah, that work was deep too. So like, obviously you mature as you go ahead, but yeah, that's all I'll say. Yeah.
In my case, so my project was based on like applying reinforcement learning to make an autonomous controller. So like from that, so basically I completed that project and I had like documented it properly also. So my interest grew particularly more in reinforcement learning. So now I am doing the project, a different project under that field only. So you can say that I am exploring the applications of reinforcement learning in different fields. So yeah, so the project that I started in search, I had completed it, and now I am doing a different one, but linked to it, like it is similar one.
So one of the student is asking that isn't this time, that is 2 months, less for completing any kind of project from scratch?
2 months, yes, you
Depends.
can
Yeah.
say. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just say that depends on what you mean by completion. Like, if you don't have very high-fi goals, then you could do a fair bit of work in 2 months also. But yeah, maybe formulating a problem and then trying to solve it completely does take usually 2 to 3 months. So that's why if you're new to the field, it's advisable that you uh, try and learn about the field prior to your search project, so that at least you know all the prerequisites, and then you can directly go into do the research problem and try to solve it. But if you're also learning the field while you're doing the search project, then 2 months will be short for you. Yes.
Yeah, it can go two ways. So the first one is that you were already working on the project and you can accelerate the pace in the search program. And the second one is that if you start from scratch, then 2 months or 3 months ideally won't be like sufficient enough if the project is quite heavy or requires sufficient effort to complete it. But it is important that you give it a proper structure so that if any other person comes or if you want to pursue it, then you can do it. So you can continue even after the search program. So it is not that you have to like dedicatedly or completely end at some specific results or like complete the project. They just want that you have done work, you have learned something and you document it properly, and then you can like take it on or continue even after search with your mentor. So it is important at least that you give it complete structure. So yeah, so it is not hard and fast rule that you do it from scratch and complete it.
And just to add to that, it's a good point because um, at the end of the day, you'll have to write a report. And of course, the quality of your report will depend on how much effort you want to put in the report. But regardless, if you structure your whole work throughout the 2 months of the project, it's much easier to write a report. At the end, you just assimilate everything that you've done and uh, send it to them. Otherwise, you'll have to again begin from scratch, trying to remember what all you did, and it might not be very assimilated well enough. So it'll be harder to write a report at the end of the day. So yeah, documentation while you're doing the project is very important.
So a common doubt throughout this session was, i- can you give some tips on how to write the mail to the mentors we are interested in? Like what should be a basic things we should include, what we should not include?
Okay, I'll tell you what I do. I introduce myself. I tell them about whatever um, I am interested in their work. Usually try to find something, some paper or whatever, or some topic that they're doing, and try to mention that. And then I try to sell myself by saying, okay, this is all that I have done already. If you've not done anything, you could say, okay, these are the courses that I've done already. And if I'm saying if you've not done any research already, you could say, okay, these are the courses that I've done already. This is whatever um, material I've read up by myself already. Just try to establish that you know a few things, and that's about it. Then you can ask for a research project or whatever. But that's a very formalized way to do. For search, and if you're just asking somebody you already know through a course or in IITK, it might not even be necessary to do so much. You might just want to say, okay, I want to talk about some specific problem. Can you give me time? And then you might do it very informally also.
Yeah, like generally, if you know the faculty or your mentor, then you can like do it informally also. But if you are mailing it first time to a new faculty or a faculty under which you haven't done any course, then you can like provide your in a mail you can introduce yourself, provide your interests, uh, put in that how the faculty like matches your interests or something like that, and then you can add on like what you may add to the project or how you are fit for that project. And then yeah, then you can like ask for a like discussion or something, an opportunity to meet, and then you can like talk. And yeah, that is how it generally goes.
Yeah, so one student is asking that you guys mentioned some project presentation. So is that a presentation that we need to give in front of our audience, or is it something else?
Ours was extremely basic. All we did was 5-minute presentation, which we recorded a video and we made a presentation slides to accompany it and we sent it to them. That was all. But I don't know what will be for your case. I believe when it was um offline, then I think there was even a poster session or something in outreach. Those of you who have been to the campus would know what outreach is. So I think there used to be some poster session, but for our case it was very basic. Yeah.
So one of the question is, if multiple professors accept, then wouldn't it be rude to decline some of?
Yeah, it may be, but yeah, of course, like it would be, but generally, like professors also know that the student is reaching out to many other faculty. So yeah, the student generally does not give response back. It's a very tricky question. Like, uh, of course, like if you are declining something, then the professor would not feel like, yeah. So yeah, it would
Yeah.
definitely be rude, but I guess that you should like if there is enough time, then you should like wait for the response from one of the faculty and then sequentially like proceed. So it is better. If you are like do not have time, then it is other case. But if you have enough time for the like deadline of the program, then you should sequentially proceed, like which starting with which professor or faculty best fits you to like moving on to other options. It would be better then.
Yeah, I agree. Sequentially is best, probably possible also, given if you do it begin now, I think. I don't know when the deadline is though, but yeah, otherwise, even I'm looking for the answer to that question. It's very tricky. Yeah.
So there aren't any more questions in the chat. So if you guys want to share something, you can go on. Okay, there's one question. Are the projects like specific for each student or are they group projects?
They are all specific to the students. I don't know of any examples which are group projects. Do you know of any?
No, yeah, I also think that when the list comes of the like last year when the list came for the project, then there were like individual. So students were allotted to each mentor. I don't think like I, maybe it would depend on faculty. So if we like select 3 or 4 students or may form a group, if the project is like same, but generally the projects are different. There are variety of projects, so most probably like uh, they are allotted on individual basis.
Yeah.
So, what role does CPI plays for getting a mentorship from a prof?
Better the CPI, more chance you have to get a project, I guess.
Also it depends on like faculty like or the professor. Like some professors like see like how's your academic performance, give like significant weightage to how your academic performance is, and some professors like directly see how you are passionate about the field, how the like how much experience you have regarding that field. So they won't look much into the CPI, but generally, yeah, you can say that higher the CPI, like the better the chances. But it also like it depends on the nature of the professor.
Definitely, yes.
So one of the question is, if I don't get a project through search, then can I do it unofficially under a prof?
Yeah, definitely. If they agree, of course. You should be able to do it unofficially. Yeah, Surge is just it's a fellowship thing. Um, if you apply, you might get through, and then you'll do it. You can always do it unofficially anytime through anybody. That's not.
So, we so now I think it's time for us to end the meet. So we would like to thank both our speakers, Sayak and Aaryansh, for conducting this session. And thank you so much. And so we would like to end the meet here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.